If you've got your worksheet, we're going to work from the bottom up. We're going to go counterclockwise. The length of your fingers are your talents. So short fingers mean one thing, long fingers mean another thing. And I've got them both marked on your chart here. And your palm shapes are important. That's your talents also. But your fingertips are your personality. So they're a little bit different. And I only do your fingertips on your right hand, because your left hand is your past and your right hand is your present and your future. Looking at the bottom right hand corner, let's do the palm shapes first. You've got quite a square palm. Now this is just your palm, not your whole hand. Got quite a square palm, which means you're quite athletic. You like to move around. Sitting still at a desk isn't for you, I'll tell you that. And then look up at your fingertips, and that's the top right hand side of the sheet. And the types of your fingertips, you got a couple of square fingertips. Practical, orderly, punctual, stubborn, kind of macho. I see square fingertips sometimes on people who are sports-minded, who are in athletics. I see them a lot on the Cowboys. People who are a little bit stubborn, then you got a couple of you got 3 round fingertips. Intuitive, quick, very compassionate. You should be in the health field. People with the round fingertips are generally your nurses and your doctors and people that work in the health field. All right, let's go back down to the thumb now. And I'm going to do the talents. The length of your fingers is your talents. So you've got a kind of a cross between a long and a short thumb. People with short thumbs do really well with numbers. You'll see that a lot on the Asian people. They generally end up being accountants or architects, something like that. But you got kind of a cross, so you got about an average. Short, you're okay with numbers, and when it's long, you have really good manual dexterity, but yours is about average. The index finger is a little bit above average, however. That's the boss finger if it's quite long. The supervisor, manager finger. So it's a little bit above average. You're maybe a little bit bossy, but not too much. You've got a fairly good business finger on you. That finger needs to be about the length of the palm, and yours is just the length of the palm, a little tiny bit above the length of the palm. That's a very good finger. Good business sense. You know how to make money. But here's your best finger. Now your ring finger and your little finger are your brain fingers, and the ring finger is your right brain, the left brain is your little finger. Looking at your ring finger, that's your right brain. That's an excellent finger. It's longer than average. Creativity, imagination, inventiveness, that's all very good. And then looking over at the little finger, that's your left brain. It's a little bit short. People with a long ring finger, generally your doctors and lawyers and English teachers, they work really well with words and letters. They like to write. They're very scholarly. That isn't you. Yours is short. You're quite active, hands-on person. You like to get in there and do what you need to do and not sit around reading books or writing reports. That's fairly good, that short, active finger. Now, right underneath that little finger are your marriage lines. You read in between the section at the end of the heart line and the ring around the little finger, and you look at the horizontal lines going across, and you read from the bottom up. The bottom is your early part of your life, and the up around the ring around the little finger is the later part of your life. So I can see the 3 marriages in there, but boy, that number 1 line is not a very dark line. No love lost there. That number 2 line isn't very dark either, but the number 3 line, your last line sitting up closest to the ring around the little finger, is your best line. That's your marriage that you're in right now. That's quite a long line. It goes over, then it dips down on the end. When it dips down on the end, the spouse dies first. If it tips up on the end, you die before your spouse. But it tips down on the end. Maybe you married somebody that's a little bit older than you. Although men have a tendency to pass away about 6 to 8 years before women do. Women live longer than men do. But that 3rd marriage line is good, and it's about 2.5 times longer than your 2nd marriage line. So add that up and see how long. There isn't a very good timeline on marriages. It's a little bit of a guessing game, but it's a lot longer line than that 2nd marriage. The children lines then go vertical, starting right underneath that ring finger, that line, and you read from the inside out. So your first children are on the inside of that, below that finger. And I can see two really good lines. Those would be your own children. And then I can see your stepkids in there, almost every one of them. But you got one in there in particular that you bonded with really good. So I've written two kids, but you bonded with one stepchild quite well. You do have other stepchildren that show in the hand there, but only one that you really bonded with. Let's look at that money line. That money line starts down just a little bit below that headline. And that's the early part of your life, and then it travels up, kind of in between that ring finger and that little finger. So down in the hand a little bit, that's the early part of your life. In between the ring finger and the little finger is the later part of your life, and it has a little bit of a weak spot in your 40s, down there towards by the headline. But then it gets two strong lines from about 50 on, and there's two really good lines in there going up in between the ring finger and the little finger. So it indicates to me that there's two incomes at retirement time, and they're both fairly strong lines too. The little tassels at the end of that heart line are your flirt lines. You've got some really good flirt lines. That just actually means that you interact well with people. What you want to see on the heart line is a nice curve in that heart line. It means that you come from a loving, caring, kind of emotional family. But you got kind of a straight little heart line. And I've put tough emotionally. Sometimes when you get a straight line like that, you've had some rough time maybe in your childhood and maybe through your marriages. You don't want to see up there in the upper left-hand corner where I've written island, physical injury. It's not so much a physical injury as it's some stress because of that line. And you got a couple of stress islands there in your 40s and your 50s. And then that heart line kind of cleans up as you get into your 60s a little bit. But you got some, but I'll tell you why that's where you're getting that from in just a minute, because that's coming off your spine. Going across the palm here, where it says 6th sense in the purple, that's excellent. You want to see a nice little fat mound. And from what I can see on the image, it looks like you got a fairly good little mount underneath that index finger. Now that's your 6th sense. And you've actually got an X on that, which reinforces that 6th sense. That's kind of your psychic marking. Excellent intuition. You listen to your little promptings because you're just a little bit psychic. A good way to solve a problem, if you've got a problem, you clear your mind completely and just let it go blank. Think about your problem first, then let your mind go blank. Just clear it out. Come back to the problem about 20 minutes, and all of a sudden, voila, you got the answer to your problem. That's your intuition kicking in. Alright, let's move down to that headline. That starts where I've written birth, in between the thumb and the index finger. Goes across your hand. And that's your spine and your headline. The straighter across your hand your headline goes, the smarter you are. Yours is a really good straight across the hand headline. Very smart. But when you got little islands in that line, it disrupts the energy of that line. And that is your spine. Where it says birth, that's the top of your spine. And going across the hand, right underneath where the word head is, that's your lower spine. And look where I've circled that. And I've circled the same places on the spine chart. So you've got 3 places that you're kind of messed up in your spine. You're turned out of place a little bit. Now if you look on that number up in that neck and your in your cervical area and in your upper thoracic area, if you look at that 3C, when those vertebrae turn out of place, there's on the back of that spine sheet, there's a picture of a vertebrae, and it's got 2 nerves that come out each side. So each one of those vertebrae have 2 nerves on each side of the spine. Well, sometimes they get twisted out of place. And this might be why you're getting that. It looks to me like you've got psoriasis or eczema on your hands. I had a boy with that one time. He kept getting that, not quite as bad as yours, but he kept getting that on his hands all the time. Finally, I took him in and had his neck straightened up, and it went away. If you'll see that 3C cervical, when those vertebrae are turned out of place, they have nerves that go to certain areas of the body. There's a whole column there that says areas. And then there's a column that says effects. And the effects are when that's turned out of place, that's the symptoms you get when that vertebrae is turned out of place. So follow that 3C and go clear across to where the effects are, and it says eczema. That's what my son had, was this eczema all over his hands. And if that indeed that is what you've got, maybe you've gotten into something poisonous or something, or you've got psoriasis. If it's eczema or even psoriasis, it could be that because that is turned out of place in your neck, and I can see that on your hand how it's turned out of place. You're out of place all the way down that spine, kind of in between your shoulder blades. Now, when you're out of place at the top part of your spine, it's going to throw your lower part out the opposite way to compensate. And you're out a little bit in that bottom spine, right where I've circled it, on the lower thoracic and the lumbar area, a little bit in the lumbar area. Other than that, you don't have too much going on in the spine, but you might be getting some lower backache. Now let's go back to the. I was thinking you look like you might have a little bit of depression in that left hand. It's possible you got depression. That's coming off that very top spine, that cervical 1 spine. And if you're taking an antidepressant, then it keeps that line from tipping down, keeps that headline from tipping down on the end. Now we're down to the lifeline. The lifeline has to do with your lungs and your breathing. It isn't going to tell you how long you're going to live. It's just going to tell you about your lungs and your breathing. Achievement lines will show in that line, and I've got those marked at the top in the upper left-hand corner where it says achievement lines. They're in the purple. I've got some good little lines. You got a really good one at 19, so you must have done something that was it's a really good achievement line, something that was very good. 26, 28. Now, I show some kind of rough times at ages 36, 37, 39, and also I get an island in that lifeline around 46, 48, which is possibly an injury. The injuries that I show in your hand are at 12, 13, 14, and 47. Oh, I do get a little bit of an injury at 17. Before we go into let's see, I got your achievement lines. Oh, achievement lines, I didn't finish that. Age 47, and we go on to 50, 55, 56, 59, 61, and 66. Then by that time, 56 is about the edge of your hand, and then you'll see the lines coming up into the hand after age 56, and you got some pretty good achievements going on there in your 50s and your 60s. That lifeline has, when you have lines going across that's the death of a loved one. There's straight lines that go across. But if you have a line that comes along the inside of the lifeline and touches where that line goes across, that means you've got a guardian angel. Your guardian angels can be your relatives, grandmas, grandpas, aunties, uncles, or kids you knew in school, or friends of the family, something like that, kids from school. So at 13 and a half and 17 and a half, you've got a couple of guardian angel lines in your hand from your left hand. But boy, in your right hand, you got a little visit from a guardian angel at age 17. Or 17 and a half. Now, you've also got a little injury there, too, so maybe you were injured and you had a little protection from a guardian angel at 17. That fate line now is going to tell you how long you're going to live, and when that breaks, there are changes in your lifestyle or your career. And we read this on your right hand. Fate line goes right down the middle of your hand, straight down, and that's kind of a private line. You don't have to have people around you all the time. You have to have a little private space. If it's swung out and around to the fat pad in your hand, that's a sociable line, but you've got quite a private fate line. Going up that fate line, right, that's right at the bottom of your sheet there. I see some breaks in the line. That's changes in lifestyle or career at age 38. Then I get a double line. That means probably 2 responsibilities. It may be that you have to take care of a family and work too, or it might be 2 jobs. But I get a double line along there till about age 44. Then another change at age 48, and that's a big change. Several changes from 48 to 60. Moves over, moves over, and moves over about 3 times. Then there's another big change at age 70, and that line gets up into that middle finger. When it crosses over that line, which is the base of that middle finger, see the Saturn finger? That means you're going to live to at least 80, but I can get you up to age 83. I can't see the line get too much further up in there. But let me tell you, on your right hand, I was reading that in your right hand, if you have a change in your health or something, sometimes that line will change in your right hand, and it'll change within about 6 months when you improve your health. I saw it's under that money line, right at the base of the palm there, where it says health line. There's a line that kind of makes the base of a triangle, the base of the lifeline, the headline, and then the health line. When you get a couple of extra lines in there, it's kind of stressy. That's your internal organs, your colon, your stomach, your pancreas, and you're getting a couple of extra lines in there, which means it's a little bit stressy. So you might be having some problems, probably because of that spine that's out of place a little bit. Look off to the side of that palm. There's a line that comes from the side of the palm, right where it says Mount of Luna, right at where that mount is, where it says Mount. You got a line that goes right across your hand. That is an addiction line. So you got to be careful when you have that line with addiction. It's kind of something you inherit from parents. Let's see, I think we've covered it all. I've got a note. I think it's on the back. It's on the back of the spine line. I'm talking about what looks to me like you've got psoriasis, unless you've got into some chemical or something with your hands. If that's psoriasis or eczema on your hands, it means that you're short vitamin A in your diet. Now, we're not talking about vitamin C, which is your fresh fruits and vegetables. We're talking about vitamin A, which is the dark colored parts of fruits and vegetables. And all you have to do is get some fresh juice, carrot juice. Now, you can find it in the grocery stores nowadays. And it's best if you get some more organic. Your health food stores will have it also. Don't get canned carrot juice. It's not only is it nasty, but when they can it and they heat it, it loses the vitamin A and the vitamin C when it's canned. And I'm sending along my little cancer booklet, which tells you the same diet that you need to eat to get your vitamin A. So if you can start eating 10 fruits and veggies a day, I know that's a lot of fruits and vegetables, but it's not too hard a day to do. So, and you need to be getting your vitamin C also, which is your fresh fruits and vegetables. Right now, this time of the year, it's your melons, your cantaloupes. Grapes are a fabulous food. Your food that's the highest in your vitamin C is kiwi fruit. Don't eat the fuzzy stuff in it, though. I have a master's degree in health education. That's how I know about this stuff. I think if you'll change your diet a little bit, you'll see that, and get you some carrot juice, you'll see that eczema go away within the week. You might have to clean your liver. That might be coming from your liver a little bit. You might have to cleanse your liver a little bit. I will guarantee if you get you some fresh carrot juice, that'll go away. I've seen it happen.